Okay, I'm on a roll here, and I guess instead of mindlessly playing squad, I can just finish up this tutorial series. Last one, issue number 20, and this one is quality control and uploading your airport. We are done. Last issue saw us fixing the ILS positions. And of course, quality checking goes hand in hand with everything that we've done so far. There's not really a very specific list that I follow when I quality check my airports. And usually, when I play stuff like taxiways or so, I do load up the simulator once in a while and check if I screwed up in obviously already. But when you're done, before you, I know everyone's eager to upload their stuff, but remember that we are building airports for thousands and thousands of users. I always like to think of people that may know this airport, and if they, in real life, and if they fly here, I want them to say, "Oh wow, this looks like just like the real thing." And of course, I also think of people that come over from maybe FSX or P3D, and they are, we have a new competition coming up with from Microsoft, and of course they have vast resources, and it's going to look stunning. But I don't think they'll have, 30,000 hand-modeled airports worldwide. So this is something that I think we at X-Plane still excel at. We're with a greater community of people that makes airports, and hopefully you do as well. Now, um, when I check my airports, I basically go from one side to the other. And the last video saw us fixing the ILS positions, and of course we checked that while we did it. But again, what we tried to achieve here was having our glide slope and localizer line up perfectly. And you can see here 4 transmitter antennas on the left and 4 on the right. And then if you scoot up there, goes down to right the middle, and then you check and look down the runway. It's a little blurry, but if you go up, you can see, hey, yes, we are smack on the money, just like we saw on wet. And the same thing here. While we run down there, you can see that I fixed those signs. I looked at a YouTube video of a guy flying here at Raleigh Airport, and you could clearly make out that these little taxiways are numbered A1 to A4, and that this one is Alpha. So I added this, and you can also see the way he did the hold short, or the way they have the hold short signs here with the runway, and they don't write 03. We do that in Europe. They just write 213, and so I change it as well. I want this to be as realistic as possible. And as we run down here, of course, I use my free camera, again, C, and then the arrow keys move up, down, left, right, zoom with the mouse wheel, and you can hold down Shift to go real quick. And to the left of the Shift key are, jump over one, and then you have the one that goes back and forward. We have our little windsock here. Um, you know, again, make sure that it's pointing the right direction. If you move the or turn the windsock symbol when you place it so that it's not facing north, then the windsock animation will be off by whatever amount of degrees you turn it. Here's the glide slope antenna that we placed. Well, it's, it could be a tad more to the left, but again, I also want this to be pretty much in the center of my little thing here, of my little patch here. And if I moved it further to the left, then there would be more grass inside the fence. So this is like a little compromise. Don't go over with it. Here's the DME antenna. I placed that just behind it. It should read 0 as you touch down. And of course, the glide slope antenna is also at the point where you touch down. And you can see here the old problem. We have the poppies over here. They are in the right spot, but the touchdown marking is over here, and this is just the way that X-Plane places textures on the runway. There's nothing we can do about it, and I think there's something in the pipeline where we will have better runway textures, and also the touchdown markers should then be right where they are supposed to be. Now the next thing I check is, again, I make sure that all my signs are correct. It's really easy. It used to be almost impossible to avoid screwing up when you made signs, but now it's still easy to, copy a sign but forget to change the number. So make sure this is A1 and then over here A2 and so on. And I double check my the placement of all the roads. I excluded some, and here you can already see the first problem cropping up. I have this road here. My road exclusion used to run over here, which cut off the last node, so the whole road was gone. But I do like this access road. It's cool because I think you see the cars, they're going to this little fire station over here, which is fine, but of course it's not fine that I have my cars here parked on the road, and even this building is infringing on the road a little bit. So I'm going to go to wet. I'm going to delete the cars. They are there in reality, but I want to keep the road, so I'm taking some, taking some hits here in realism just to keep it plausible. And this is something that Julian will look for when he checks your airport. He doesn't like stuff like that at all, and for very good reason, because somebody coming over from P3D, he's going to go, oh, this is cool. The AI cars, the Autogen cars go right through these parked cars. This is supposed to be a good simulator. No way. So he doesn't know that the cars are there in reality and that the road isn't placed right. He just looks at it and doesn't know any better because, of course, he's coming from P3D. So yeah, just move the building a little bit up, remove this light maybe, or move the light over there so that it looks okay. And you can see here my ground vehicle is also using the road. It may clash with cars coming down the road once in a while, but I think, see, here comes one right now, but I think that is okay. I want to keep the road. I want to keep the ground vehicles parked over here. So this is just happening once in a while, but see what happens here. This isn't looking good, and this guy is going to disappear right here. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just the way it is. Now you can also see that the road, why is it clipping? Well, it's not in the correct position. X-Plane is simplifying. It has a node down here. It has a node up here, but the real road goes over here. And you can see that in the way my fence is placed. See, I placed the fence along the real road, but X-Plane is making it simple. So now my fence is cutting across the road. This is also something that's no good. So I'm just going to maybe kill this part of the fence. And I also have to think about, the plane. I think it's parked there okay, but I have to double check if there are any more positions on this side that may display parked aircraft that jut out their tails onto this road. I want to keep the road at all points, but it's really pissing me off. So, this would be a candidate for removal and for making the road along the right track with polygons, but in this case I'll keep it. I'll just hide the cars for the next iteration of X-Plane and move the building up a little bit, double check parking spots for aircraft here. We don't really have to have any. There are plenty. I can just make some over here. I just want them to look silly. And again, as you go along the fences, this is where you will often find little faults. See, my fence here is going right into the middle of the road. Obviously, the real road is maybe making a little turn here. X-Plane simplified it to go really straight, keeps down on the data, but we have our fence in the middle of the road. So I'm going to memorize, hey, my fence should just go from the very first turn here straight to probably this last turn, and then it doesn't infringe on the road and it's fine. Talking about roads, here's our old problem. This is something that I'll also have to fix. You can see the road is supposed to go between these two polygons, going down straight, then cutting across, making a nice turn here, going in front. And now the depiction of this is pretty crude, but again, I want to retain these roads. I'm just going to replace this 6 parked cars thing here with maybe just 4 just on the side, remove this little lamppost. And when you check your airports, what I like to do is go shift space. I make a little screenshot. They are saved in the output folder, and then later on you can go through your screenshots when you don't really remember, when you're back in WED, and look at what you wanted to change, and that way you can do everything at once and then load the simulator instead of going back and forth and waiting a couple times in between. remember when you do change stuff in wet and you reload the simulator, you can do that instead of reloading completely. You go developer, reload scenery. This does not work for some stuff like runway placement, windsocks that are, I think, pretty much everything that's in the airport DUT doesn't get reloaded. Everything that goes into the DSF file does get reloaded. So if you really want to make sure, then shut down X-Plane and reload it again. But for most stuff, you can go with the developer reload and save some time doing that. We removed the road that went down here. I cut it off with an exclusion zone. Show you how it looks in wet real quick. And see, let's move out a little bit. I have my view toggle nav aids. I don't need that anymore. But here are my exclusion zones. See, these are I call them general exclusions. They exclude everything but the roads, and I fashioned them so that they follow the pattern outline of the airport. And I also have my road exclusions, and you can see they are much more narrow, just excluding roads on the airport premises. And here, see, this is that thing that we just looked at. I killed this node with this exclusion zone here, and that's why we have lost this whole stretch of road, which is fine because we have it, you can see from here to here, as a polygon asphalt with a yellow line that we placed, and that's the way it is. In reality, there's no road here. This is like a taxiway, I guess. And the last thing that you also want to check, ideally you take an airplane, you fly around your airport a couple times, taxi around a couple times. That way you always spot stuff. But one thing that people that we see again and again is they fail to clear the approach path. See how high these trees are? These are the trees that we placed with forest polygons. They are even higher if you don't, if they're default trees. So make sure that you approach your airport and look at the poppy. And I like to go down until at least the 4 are red, then maybe a little bit, and you still want to be able to have a clear shot at your airport, a clear approach. You don't want to drag your gear through the trees, and it may look, exciting or cool. Don't check with too white, too red. Check with when they are 4 red, and still be able to clear, because you still want to have some leeway. The authorities wouldn't allow trees that are so high that you just about clear them with being on glide slope. You have to be able to go below the glide slope until at least you see 4 red, or on the other side maybe until you're 2 dots low or so when you have a real ILS, and still be able to clear the trees. And if the trees are still in the way, then you need to place either exclusion zones or move your forest out. And you can see over here, you could be really low and still clear the trees. So this is fine. And also then when you're done checking your airport during the day, you switch until, I like to switch until it's just about night. Don't make it completely dark, because then you don't see any of the unlit objects anymore. But see here, you want to make sure that as you approach your airport, the approach lights and these flashing lights here are clear of trees. You don't want them hidden in the trees. Again, this is something that you would never see in a real airport. They do keep the approach lights visible to the pilots, because obviously that's what they are there for. And then you can also, you probably did this already when you placed lights, but you can turn this dim a little more and make sure that you have enough lighting on your airport, that you don't have any important areas that are unlit, that you didn't forget any ramps. Always imagine that you're an owner of an aircraft and you want to use your aircraft here in front of your hangar at night. You want to have some light at least. Don't go overboard with it. Airports are often darker than the general public thinks. And you don't have to light up all the movement areas. That's what we have these little lights for. And then again, also aircraft have taxi and landing lights and so on to light up their way a little bit. So I like to, again, go by the old rule, as many as needed, but as few as possible. Don't add lights just because they look cool at night. And you don't want your airport to stand out of the basic scenery like a sore thumb. Airports are pretty hard to see at night, especially small ones. If you have like a big mega hub, what you see usually is you see the the lights that light up the ramps and the loading areas and so on. You don't really see the uh, taxiway lights and the runway lights unless you look straight down the runway, of course. Now, see this, I think, blends in pretty well with the surrounding scenery here, and I think that we did a good job so far. And once you're done with that, once you're happy with it, you would, of course, after you've done your changes, I'm not going to do that now, it takes too much, but I want to finish this video, so I'll show you how to upload. You go to make sure that the export target, again, it should have been there all the time, but just make sure one last time, Airport Scenery Gateway, you run a validation. Again, the validation will run regardless of you triggering it when you export your scenery pack to put it into X-Plane, but it will also get run again when you upload to the Scenery Gateway. And once you're happy and satisfied with everything, remember, hide or even delete the helper lines. You don't have to, if you have any background pictures that you used to help you make your airport, you know that you can download pictures and you can add them into WED to help you place stuff. Again, don't use anything that infringes on copyright things, but if you do and you have here the pick overlay image, then you can browse your computer and you can take a JPEG and you can put it into WED, place it accurately so that it lines up with the satellite imagery underneath. If you have like auto photos that you own and they are higher resolution than the Esri imagery, you can do that. And when you upload your airport, you don't have to delete that stuff because it does not get uploaded to the gateway anyway. But you could delete it, but you don't have to. And then once you're done with everything, you make sure that you select your airport. That is very important. Click on the Raleigh Exec Jetport line, and then you just go export to Airport Scenery Gateway. And then you have to add your username and your password, of course, and you don't have to write comments, but you could say total makeover of the original airport or massive update, or you could just say moved windsocks to the correct position or whatever you do. And then you click upload and that's it. It will say airport is uploaded. And then once it's done, if you go, see here's the issue that I submitted here with the new ILS data. We did that in the last video. But once you've done that, you can go find your airport. These are the airports I have added. You can see recently I have added, for example, this one. Just yesterday I uploaded it and it gets uploaded, then it gets accepted, and once Julian looked at it, it will get the approved title. Approved doesn't mean that it's an X-Plane or that it will be used in X-Plane. If you click on, let's say here, Los Angeles, for example, you can see that we talked about this, the history, and this green checkmark this is what you want. This is the recommended version now. So the one Los Angeles I recently uploaded was approved by Julian, and it's also recommended. But you could have an upload that's just approved, but someone else already did a better one than yours. You failed to check that, so all your work was in vain, basically. It's approved, but it's not recommended. So this is the little green thing that you want to see. It can take a few days, even a few weeks sometimes, depends on how busy Julian is, or you could get rejected. This happens very frequently. I get like 30% of my uploads rejected because I made some dumb mistake. And then you just check the the comments, and you can see that there are no comments here. I think I just uploaded a newer version or something like that. But usually the comments will show you why your airport was rejected, what Julian found with it, and then you can go and fix it and upload again. Don't worry about that. There's nothing to be afraid of. You can even write emails to Julian. He's a really friendly guy. Met him first time in person on the FS Expo in Orlando recently, and he's easy to work with, very reasonable. But of course, he gets hundreds of submissions almost daily, and he has to run a fairly tight ship and can't help you, handhold you while you update your airport airport to make it good enough. He will just give you some brief information. It's not because he's mean, it's just because he doesn't have any time. So hopefully I'll be seeing a big burst in activity here at the Scenery Gateway soon with all your little airports coming up. Remember to come back to the forums, to the very special forum we have here, the where is it? Where is it? X-Plane. I have too many little things here. The X-Plane Scenery. Here it is, Scenery Development Forum. There we go. And we have the Scenery Gateway Forum. I remember this is for announcing. This is not for asking for help. But see, this is where people ask for help all the time. How do I do this? Jetway doesn't completely, and so on. This is where you need to come if you have a problem, and we'll help you out. And hopefully you'll have as much fun doing airports as the rest of us do that are already into it. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial series. I hope that you enjoy X-Plane, having fun flying with it, and I'm really looking forward to the future, even though we have stiff competition coming. But as they always say, competition is good for the business, and I hope that the hobby that we all share moves forward as a result.